Hello, everyone. Welcome back. So I am super excited. So I have an update for you guys. For those of you that don't know, my name is Amber Gonzalez, and I just want to say welcome to our vlog. Um, Now, I recently posted on Instagram to encourage you guys to go back and watch the last vlog we did, just so you guys can refresh your memory on where we left off, because right now I'm going to give you an update. So everything that has happened since August, which was 7 months ago, I know. 7 months ago, I'm about to update you guys up to this point, okay? And so I knew, I started logging everything up after I posted that video. I just knew, we knew that once we post this vlog, because we were talking about the generosity of God, having a generous spirit, right? Having a heart of generosity. And so once I knew that once we posted that there were going to be some challenges that were going to come up, that we were going to be tested in that. And so I just started logging everything. I put dates next to everything, and I'm not going to get into details like that with you guys, but I want you guys to know that I wrote everything down, and so everything I'm telling you is accounted for. I have a journal that shows it all. So anyway, so since that last post, okay, that was in August. Since that last post, 4 days later, my husband gets notified by his job. His boss tells him and notifies him of possible layoffs that may be happening at his job, right? And on top of that, that very same day, we received a notice from the collections agency. Now, if you remember in the last video that we did, we talked about how we weren't hearing anything from the collections agency. I mean, for a while, it was like nothing. They were quiet, silent. We weren't hearing anything from them. So now here it is, 4 days later after we post that, now we're starting to hear from them. So we get this notice in the mail from the collection agency saying that we owe X amount of money, but if we pay by a certain time or respond by a certain time, they'll give us a discount. So we go, I pray, and I ask God, and I'm asking God, and I said, God, can you show me someone in the Bible who thought they were free, but maybe they really weren't, right? And I remember that very same day, I opened up my Bible and I began to read. He led me to Exodus. Yeah, it was Exodus chapters 13 and 14. And I began to read, and it was talking about how the Israelites, they're free. Moses, he set the Israelites free, and they're all leading out of Egypt. They're exiting out of Egypt. They're going on their journey. But then Pharaoh and his tribe are coming after them, right? And so there were two verses that stuck out to me. One is verse 14 that says, "We need only be still," and verse 16 that says, "Move on." And I paused there because I really felt like that was the Lord answering me through the Word of God on what to do about this collections notice that we received in the mail, right? And so I'm like, okay, I pray about it. I'm like, okay, God, we're trusting in you. We're just going to trust you, right? So life is continuing on, and life at Joel's job is continuing on. And then he puts in a bid, right, for a route. Now he's thinking, there's no way I'm going to get a good route. Like, if they're already talking about possible layoffs, then I'm going to get a crappy route, and it's probably going to be less hours than I'm making now with less pay. All these concerns that were running through his mind, right? So while this is happening, we're waiting, we're also waiting to hear about the possible layoffs at his job. Like, what's going to happen with that, right? And we're still getting notices from the collections agency, and all of this is hanging over our heads, but we're trusting God. We're like, okay, God, this is what you said, right? And on top of that, we then receive a notice in the mail from Joel's union saying that he owes $1,300 for union fees. Time out. What? Like, are you serious? $1,300 for union fees? You're joking, right? We knew at this point that this was an attack on our finances. And so, again, we take it to God. Joel hears the Lord say that you are never in debt when you have the spirit of generosity. And because when you refresh others, you yourself will be refreshed. We hear that and we're like, oh, okay, let's bring it down a notch. We're gonna be okay. God's got us. He's got us, right? But then the notices just keep coming in, and they keep coming after us. It's like the Israelites when they were being set free. Pharaoh and his men, they kept chasing after the Israelites, and every time the Israelites saw them, they freaked out and panicked and ran faster and getting away. But Pharaoh and his men continued to chase after them. So they just keep coming after us. And we're like, we have proof, right? So Joel is making call after call, and he's fighting with them, and he's wrestling with this. And as he's wrestling with this, he heard the Lord say, you can fight it and be right and bring the debt down, or you can sit and let me settle the score. And we're like, okay. So we sit and we wait. We're not making more movements. We're just, the ball is in God's court. As we're waiting, they then begin to take money out of his check weekly. We're just like, okay, really? Okay, God, what is going on? What, you told us to be still. Then the Lord said, take that amount that they're taking out and match them and add it to your offering. So we're like, okay. So honestly, we got excited. We're like, yeah, okay. So we started right away. Then they start taking out more money on top of what they're already taking out. So one morning, Joel and I, we were outside and we were just talking, and it was a great conversation. And we feel the Lord in this conversation, and he's leading and guiding us. And he led us to Ephesians 3:20, which is one of my absolute favorite scriptures, where it says, God will do exceedingly above and beyond what you could ever ask, think, or even imagine. We felt like the Lord wanted us to live that out. Joel and I, we were talking, and he said, why do we always wait for God to do the exceedingly above and beyond what we could ever ask, think, or even imagine? Why do we as people always wait on God and expect God to do that? Why don't we do that? Why don't we live that scripture out? Because it's already been shown and proven that we can't outgive God. So we were just like, why don't we live out the Ephesians 3:20? So what we did was, because we knew it was an attack on our finances, we were like, okay, you know what? If the enemy wants to play this game, then we're not just gonna match him, but we're gonna match our tithes as well. So whatever we give in tithes, we're gonna match that. And so we start right away. We're pumped up, we're excited. Like, this is God, this is gonna take God. So we start right away, and we're like, God's gonna show up. Well, later that month, Joel's job tells him he may be laid off until he can pay off the union dues. Oh no, he will not be laid off. No. If anything, I said, there will be a time where he will no longer be working at his job. And it's certainly not going to be because he got fired or because he got laid off. It's going to be because his time there is up, and he will put his time in and say, I'm done. That's when it will happen. And so, again, taking it to God, and we're just trusting him to take care of it, and we're just letting it play out at this point. We're like, okay, because there's really nothing more we can do. And so by then, it's the end of October, and the year continues on with threats. But since then, Joel, he gets a second job. We continue to save, and our time of moving out is getting closer. Recently, within a month's time frame, there are some things that have happened. My car breaks down, and we have to pay. It really wasn't too bad, and I'm thankful for it, but we still had to pay a chunk of money to get that fixed. But also, Joel's car breaks down, and that was a little over $1,000. And then I go to the dentist, and make a long story short for there, we come out $1,500 out of the pocket. Like, our finances are being attacked. This is not cool. At this point, we are just tired of it all. We're like, God, like, what is happening? What are you doing, Lord? Like, do you see what is happening? Like, you see, they're chasing us. We are the Israelites. We're being chased. And this is not fun. This is not fun at all, God. Like, when are you going to show up? During all this, Joel has been continuing to work his job. He was telling me how he was praying and he went to God and he felt the Lord show him, the Israelites again, how when Moses came up to the sea. Now, here he's feeling like, okay, we can't go anymore. We can't go any further. We can't go ahead because there's a sea in front of us. We can't go back because Pharaoh and his men are after us. Where are we to go? We're feeling like that's us. We're hemmed in from all sides. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. So we're praying. We left it to God and we're just like, God, we're trusting you. Well, Joel is continuing on at his job. And so this is where it starts to get a little better. That route that he bid for turned out to be a blessing. He got a better route with better hours and more pay. On top of that, the threats that were coming in on all sides, phone, job, notices, they all stopped. Because honestly, the bottom line, they had nothing on him. Because he's had proof of him paying the union. Like, somebody was getting the union dues. Somebody's been taking them out. And he's had proof of this. So they had no choice but to just leave him alone. And they recently made 2 payments into our accounts, giving back what they took from us. As I said, this is all just to kind of catch you up as to the oppositions that we've been facing since the last post. But I believe it was just a scare tactic from the enemy, because he thought if he could hit us where it hurts, then he could delay our destiny, and then we would turn around and put our anger towards God and blame God and say, this is your fault. He knows that our finances have been our greatest struggle, but what he doesn't know and what he's about to find out is that our finances is about to be our greatest victory. And here's the update that I want to give you guys. This is the part that I'm so excited about, okay? Here's our situation. We have 5 weeks till we have to move. 5 weeks, okay? Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like right now, okay? 1, we can't rent anywhere. Let me tell you why. Because when we were living in Sacramento and we were renting there, our last month there, we could not pay rent because in the middle of the year, my husband wrote a letter to the collections agency saying, you know what, we have no problem paying what we owe, but I just ask for permission if we can hold off on making those payments until I get a job, because at the time he wasn't even working. So he wrote a letter asking for grace. Well, they said no, and they wrote back saying you have to pay this X amount at this time each month. So we're like, okay, fine. We tried opening that door closed, so be it. So we're making these payments. So it was either pay rent or pay them. And we chose to pay them. Did we choose right? I don't know. But all I know is we're trusting God through all of this. Number 2, even if we could rent, we can't afford it. Living in California is not the easiest, but I'm still believing it's doable. It's doable. And God's going to show that. He will. And number 3, we're in no position to buy. 3 things. We can't rent. Even if we could, we can't afford it. And we're in no position to buy. This is where I'm like, okay, God, you know what? Pick your miracle. Pick your miracle. I'm like, we got a tent. We can go and live in a tent somewhere. But I know that that's not God's plan. I know that that's not his heart for us. And so it's exciting to me that here we are with 3 choices, 3 different options that nothing in us could ever make any of these 3 happen or even possible for us to even think about it. And there's nothing else we can do. Like, we have put our faith to action. There's nothing else we can do. We are hemmed up. We are like Moses at the sea. Like, we can't go forward because of the sea. We can't go back because they're after us. What do we do? Where do we go? Right? So this is what I'm excited about, because this is about to be a miracle from God that we're going to see, and he's going to get to pick a miracle. And who knows, I would not be surprised if there was a fourth option that he's like, yeah, you didn't see this one at all because I was saving it for you. Who knows? I don't know. And so I just want to update you guys on this. This is where we're at. We have 5 weeks left till we have to move. So you guys are going to be hearing from us soon on what that miracle looks like. Hopefully that would be the next vlog, is one of the miracles, unless something happens in between and we have to post that. But I'm excited. We're not worried about it. When we posted that video, it was like 7 months ago. Of course we weren't worried. We had 9 months left, so we weren't really worried. But here we are, 5 weeks left, and we're still not worried. God's got us. He's in control. So I hope this encourages you. If you haven't done so already, pursue your dreams. Pursue your dreams. Go after them and start today, because there's no time like the present time. Take care.